So imagine, if you will, in 1960, a certain star player goes back to middle school, and he was asked by maybe his teachers and classmates, what'd you do over the summer? Well, I was signed by the Montreal Canadiens. Yes, it really happened when Glenn Chico Resch, one of the most respected players, broadcasters, and organizers in NHL in the 1970s and 80s and 90s, went back to school. He had to inform his teachers and fellow students, yes, I was signed by the Montreal Canadiens. Now, under the old sponsorship system, rights of players could be signed, if I'm not mistaken, between the ages of 12 and 16, sometimes 11-year-olds. Now, Montreal Canadiens had these rights for a number of seasons, but instead of going into junior hockey to hone these skills, he eventually decided to go to the University of Minnesota in Duluth, where he received his education. Resch said in published reports, I went to college because I didn't think I had a future in hockey. I went to the only college that would give me a hockey scholarship. Now, following his senior year in 71, he was selected to the Western Collegiate Hockey Association's second All-Star team. He eventually ended up in Montreal Canadiens camp in 71-72. Didn't make the squad, and it was eventually traded to the expansion New York Islanders, where he helped stabilize and augment the Islanders' first seasons in the association. Now, Resch had very little chance to unseat Ken Dryden in Montreal, but he pressed enough scouts that he eventually had a place in the NHL for the next pretty well decade and a half. Now, the Montreal experience was never considered a waste for Resch. As an amateur, he had patterned himself after Glenn Hall, and he did struggle at times in minor hockey and college with that style because of his small frame. Now, while at the Habs camp, because Vachon was still in the system in 71-72, he took notice of the equally diminutive Roger Vachon, who utilized a stand-up style while still being able to play the angles well. Resch, who was a quick learner, altered his style accordingly, and his goaltending career took off. Now, his first professional season with the Canadiens was with the Muskegon Mohawks of the IHL, where he had a really good season. He led the league with 4 shutouts, and his overall play earned him the James Norris Trophy for the lowest goals against average in the association. Resch also took home the Gary F. Longman Memorial Trophy as the IHL's Rookie of the Year, and he was named to the first All-Star team. Now, the Islanders must have been paying attention, because eventually he was let go from Montreal in, not say a contract dump, but here's how it worked. The Montreal Canadiens sent a number of players, including Resch, Dennis DeJordy, a longtime goalie, Germain Gagnon, who eventually became an NHL pro, Tony Featherstone, Murray Anderson, and Alex Campbell for a cash settlement. Now, the trade would eventually alter Resch's life. He stepped in the role as a backup very quickly with the Islanders, and after one season on the Pines, he stepped forward to assume frontline status, winning far more games than he lost while maintaining a strong goals against average. Now, during his 7 seasons in Long Island, he was twice selected as the second team All-Star and helped the team to one Stanley Cup in 1980. Now, Billy Smith eventually usurped him as number 1, but he decided to give Resch a second life in the NHL career as he was traded to Colorado. Now, with the Rockies, Resch was one of the few bright spots for the team, and is rewarded with the Bill Masterton Trophy as a player who best exemplified the qualities of perseverance, sportsmanship, and dedication to hockey in '82. He then made the transfer to New Jersey when the squad shifted locations, and he played there for parts of 4 more seasons. Afterwards, he was traded to the Flyers, where he played 25 games before hanging up his pads for good in '86. Now, since his retirement from hockey, Resch has worked in numerous capacities, including a broadcaster, goaltending coach, scout, and a general manager of coach of the Tri-City Americans. Now, he first got his start as a color commentator when the Islanders were knocked out in the playoffs in the late 70s for Montreal Canadiens playoff games. And you can see some of his infamous starting in that career with some weird verbal battles with, of all people, Lou Nanne, who was a strong Minnesota North Star representative. Resch is best be described as a genial genius. Resch was very, very hockey savvy, and you saw that in his color commentating. And I think he got a job with Montreal as a color commentator, because obviously when you start with Montreal when you're 12 and you're still giving back to hockey, I think Chico was in his early 30s when he started his color commentary sideline. And he was the poor man's Tom Seaver. I must give him that, because we all know Tom Seaver would do color commentary when the Mets or Reds were out of the playoffs. And what Chico brought was as an all shucks style to his color commentary. He wasn't the greatest broadcaster, but you can tell he was genuine. So that's a story about how Glenn Chico Resch was discovered by the Montreal Canadiens, which eventually led to a Stanley Cup. And this podcast is dedicated to my good pal Joe Powers, who has done a lot of online work for the New York Islanders throughout his journalism career. And we can always say that it wouldn't be for the Montreal Canadiens, there would be no Islander dynasty in the early 1980s. Have a good day. Bye.